What's up everyone, my name is Gots, and I will be going over Hu Yi, the Defender of Earth today. So let's begin with the overview. So, starting off, it says that his difficulty is average. So I agree with this. It takes a lot, not a lot of skill, but it does take some skill to land the ricochet, especially knowing where to really use ricochet, how to use it, and his kit blends really well together, so you won't be finding too much difficulty putting it together. Just reading it over, you could kind of get a sense of how everything's supposed to go together. His pros, he has really high single target damage, high area damage. He has really high scaling, and for that reason, he's very aggressive. So he has really big, huge progressive damage that you can really see as we go into the abilities. So starting off with his passive here called Sun Touched. It is a passive self buff. Not really a buff, it's just kind of there more or less. So basically, after taking a critical hit, Hu Yi can't be critically hit again for 3 seconds. So this is huge in 2 situations. 1, in late game, and 2, laning against Artemis. So if you know you're going to be going against the Artemis, so that's like in ranked, when you could see the other players' picks, then definitely pick Hu Yi. You can't, if you get crit once, you can't get crit again for 3 seconds. So it's a huge advantage, especially late game. So if you know how to play Hu Yi, he's definitely the best counter pick against Artemis, if you want to know that. Next is his main lane clear called Ricochet. So it's a line target with the range of 70. So Hu Yi fires a powerful shot that can ricochet off of walls. After firing, if this arrow bounces off a wall, it will travel 70 units from that point again, plus 50% bonus damage per bounce up to a maximum of 2 bounces. This arrow will stun if the target has Mark of the Golden Crow. So as you can see already, it has some crazy range if you're able to bounce it up to 2 times. The base range is 70, so then 70 times 3 is 210, so you get up to 210 units of range, but that is all dependent on whether or not you could get the extra bounce or not. Coming into the game originally, I thought Hu Yi would be like the kind of god that takes a lot of skill, you know? You'd be using the ricochet everywhere, but it turns out actually that people don't really use the ricochet. So then when they actually do hit one, they're kind of like, whoa, where'd that damage come from? Well, now you know where it comes from. It basically it could up to double the damage, because one bounce alone gives you plus 50% bonus damage, and then another one gives you 100% bonus damage. So instead of getting 70 damage, you're getting 140. Simple as that. Nice, good damage that you're putting out there, especially not really late game. You're going to be looking for it. You're going to be looking for the straight up stun. So that brings us to Mark of the Golden Crow. And this is a debuff, although it doesn't exactly debuff them in terms of speed or attack speed or anything like that. It's actually it modifies Hu Yi in the way of auto attacks and abilities. So let's take a read right now. Hu Yi marks an enemy with Mark of the Golden Crow. Marked enemies take extra damage for every 10% of their missing health from Hu Yi's abilities and basic attacks. At rank 3, marked enemies are visible to Hu Yi on the minimap, including stealth gods. At rank 5, Hu Yi gains a 25% penetration against the marked enemy god. The mark lasts for 15 seconds. So next to Ricochet, I would definitely be marking up Mark of the Golden Crow next. Reason being is the massive damage increase for one, and the utility it has. Now this is one of the most utility-based abilities for all of the hunters. First of all, you get the simple damage increase that's just inherent, you know, it's kind of right here. Other things you have to read for is that marked enemies take extra damage for every 10% of their missing health from Hu Yi's abilities and basic attacks. So let's say someone is 50% health, right? They'll take extra damage for every 10%. So instead of doing one extra percent of damage, you're doing 5% of extra damage. So as you can see, he's kind of like a progressively kind of evolving kind of god, you know? As gods health is decreasing, his damage is going up. So it's pretty nice, especially when you're trying to secure the kill, because when 90% of their health is missing and they're one shot away, 90%, well, not 90, 90% is missing, you'll have 9% extra damage at rank 1. So that is huge. Can't tell you how much percentage damage does. It's crazy. So at rank 5, well, let's start with this. At rank 3, marked enemies are visible to Hu Yi on the minimap, including stealth gods. So that's like Loki and Ao Kuang, and that's huge, especially on junglers, because a lot of the time you'll have a jungler kind of camp Hu Yi, because he's just like, you can't let Hu Yi get in front of you, especially if you're a weaker kind of god. Like if you're a Hu Yi versus a Cupid, whoever gets ahead is really like the god that is gonna be taking the game away, really. So it's very important to shut down a Hu Yi, especially earlier, so that way enemy gods that are in the jungle, you can actually see them on the minimap, so you could kind of telegraph where they're gonna be, when they're gonna be there, when they're gonna gank, stuff like that. So it's very, very important that you mark this up, or level this up when after you're done your lane clear, so that way you could keep tabs on where people are. Just keep in mind that this doesn't last forever. The mark lasts for 15 seconds, and after that you have to reapply it. The cost is kind of efficient. It's 50 mana compared to our base mana. We'll have 278 plus 38 per level. So level 20, it's really not a big deal. We'll have 1,000 mana, not a big deal. So moving on, we'll go right into Dive Bomb. So Dive Bomb can be used as an escape or initiation, as with most escapes, and it can be caught by hard CC as he leaps up. So remember that if you're laning against an Emir and he hasn't used his Frost Breath yet, be careful to watch out for the Frost Breath, because if you're mid-air, like if you're in mid-leap, I'll show you when we go into the game, but if you're mid-leap, an Emir can actually catch you frozen while you're leaping up. So in a way, that's kind of not fair, because it's kind of the same animation like length as on her to get into the air, but he has, like, the whole time he is just immune to everything, unlike Hu Yi, who could get caught by a couple things. He can actually get clipped by an Emir wall. So yeah, just be careful for that. The damage is pretty low scaling on this one, but the travel time is a little more forgiving. You can actually steer him while he's in the air, so not bad. Yeah, so it's important to notice though that when he does land on a target that has Mark of the Golden Crow, they are knocked back. So this can set up pretty easily. So you walk up to the lane, put Mark of the Golden Crow on the enemy god, use Dive Bomb on them so that they're knocked back, and then you can easily hit Ricochet, use the ult, and that will not necessarily guarantee you a kill, but if you're against a god like AMC that doesn't have an escape, it's really potent on them, so just keep that in mind. Next is Hu Yi shoots 9 arrows into the sky, striking 1 sun with each arrow. The 9 suns come crashing down one by one, dealing damage in a target area over time. A target with Mark of the Golden Crow will have their movement speed slowed by 20% for 0.25 seconds on every hit. So, reading this final description, you could see that Mark of the Golden Crow influences his whole kit. Everything that he has on his kit is directly influenced by the Mark of the Golden Crow. This being a stun, this being a knockback, and this being a slow. So you can kind of see how the kit really ties in together, not even including the damage and whatnot. So let's look at the stats now. So damage, not really like increases by, like Cupid's increases crazy, probably like by 20-30 damage. This only increases by about 10 damage per level. Not a huge thing, but it's good for initiation and really zoning. This is a really good ability for zoning, but you really don't want to be using hunters to be zoning, right? You want to be using them to get in there, do the damage, whatever. The duration is pretty long, 4.5 seconds, and as I said, it does do a slow to people who have Mark of the Golden Crow on them. But 20% isn't that much when you really think about it. If someone's in a sticky situation, just pop beads and they're already out of it. You won't really be noticing the 20% because, you know, it's not even that big, so I'm just gonna ignore that. Talking about Hu Yi, he was released earlier, I believe sometime in between December and January, December of 2014 and January of 2015. And he is kind of buggy, to be honest. Mark of the Golden Crow, I've noticed sometimes you send out the Golden Crow and like the Golden Crow doesn't want to show up. Now, I'm not sure if it actually affects the enemy god, because you can actually see the mark. This mark actually appears above the god's head, but it doesn't always appear. So I'm not certain whether or not it's actually there. I don't know if that's a bug, if they want to settle that out, because I don't think you can miss this ability. Like, it's kind of a targeted thing. So it's kind of weird in that way. And also the thing that I was talking about earlier with the leap, you could get caught while mid-air in dive bombs. So I think that's kind of unfair. I hope they really settled that out, because enemy gods like on her just get away with it. It's crazy. And again, with the Mark of the Golden Crow, sometimes you can hit the ricochet while they have the Mark of the Golden Crow on, and they won't take either damage or they won't stun. So, you know, it's kind of like a win-loss thing. I really want to see them do something with Hu Yi. He's a really good god, and if you want to win the game early, like with Cupid, I would definitely choose Hu Yi. A lot of pro players like Zapman favored this god for that reason, and how he scales pretty well. He's kind of like a god like Neith, where he's not really reliant on his auto attacks. It's actually more of his ability damage. So that's why when we're talking about builds, you kind of want to get into the Heartseeker build. And what that basically is the Heartseeker, Aussie, and then this is a strange one, Ninja Tabby actually. The Executioner, Rage, Deathbringer, sell Heartseeker late game with Bloodforge. Now let me explain to you. Heartseeker build, usually you'll want to have the most auto attack like you want to have the most physical power that you can, so that you could just you know, destroy them with your abilities. But eventually, because of his 2, I honestly believe that he deserves more attack speed. So that way, I build like this. So then he has some decent attack speed, right? He has 1.75 instead of what could be, instead, he would have 1.61. So if you've ever played a hunter before, I'm assuming people who watch this video have, but if you've ever played a hunter in a situation where you have to box a enemy god, this situation is like really difficult, because the difference between one extra auto attack and missing an auto attack, something that you can control, is just huge. I mean, you know, you need to really keep up with other enemy gods, and you can't always rely on abilities, because eventually your cooldowns will run out, because his cooldowns aren't the greatest, you know? Like, as a hunter, you're not going to be building cooldown, you'll be building attack speed, you know? Auto attack, critical, stuff like that. That doesn't directly influence your abilities. So for having a 14-second cooldown, 18-second cooldown, 15, 90 seconds, his purpose isn't totally ability based, unlike Neith's that I would build straight up Heartseeker build with. So in that way, I believe he deserves a Ninja Tabby to increase that attack speed and really utilize his 2. So yeah, with that, I will be going into Conquest, and I'll be showing you how to lane with this god and what's going on there. So starting off, you'll want to have your Bluestone Pendant, rank 1 of Heartseeker, 1 healing potion, Aussie, Tabby, oh I'm sorry. Now, starting out, you'll just want these 3 items right here. Bluestone, number 1 of Morningstar, and 1 healing potion. Past that, we'll want Heartseeker, an Aussie, Ninja Tabby, Executioner, Rage, Deathbringer. So what this will do is really help you out with lane clear. The massive physical power that you get with Heartseeker is really great, especially if you are an ability-based god like Huyi. So in that way, he's really good with the Heartseeker build. Yeah, and I will be right back with full Heartseeker stacks so that you can see the difference between power. Alright, so I'm back here with my 50 Heartseeker stacks. Didn't take that long at all with the crit online. So, as you can see, I have huge physical power and massive basic attack damage, almost 300. So that you could really see now what the power of a Heartseeker does, because you can reach 50 stacks of Heartseeker like by level 10, or usually it'll be around level 15, especially if you die a couple times. And that's where the main problem with Heartseeker is that the stacks are halved upon death. So not the best kind of punishment, as you will, but it's definitely kind of worth it now if you could play a safe hunter, that is. So I'm just going to show you, I'm going to see if I can actually clear out this wave, and I can clear the back archers and leave the front with 1 hit. So in that way, this build is really good because you save your, you know, you can clear the wave faster, a lot easier that way. So, yeah, talking about the stacks, you can lose half of them upon death. So I'd say as soon as you lose them and you're like level 20 already, say you have enough money, instead of having to go through the pain of restacking it again, just sell it, you know? This is 1700, and then it'll sell for 1100 when you actually want to sell it. So make sure you have 1100 back in your total gold, and then you could buy Bloodforge right off. So now you'll have 2 lifesteal items, and what this will do is just put you in a really good spot. It's not necessarily as good as the Heartseeker with the full stacks, but what this does is basically each successful basic attack hit on an enemy grants you +5 physical power and +3% physical lifesteal for 4 seconds with a max of 3 stacks. So, you know, it doesn't do the best that it could for like the Heartseeker, but it's definitely good. Has more, I think it has more base physical power than Heartseeker, which is good. It has 10 more base physical power, but altogether, the Heartseeker is a much more sound investment, especially early game. So definitely do not pick this up early game. I would only suggest it late game when you have enough money to sell some items off. So coming out to the raw bot here, I'm just going to show you what I usually like to do. You know, just walking up to lane, putting the mark of the golden crow on like this, and then jumping on them so that they get knocked up, stunning them, and then just killing them. He wasn't even able to put off an ability on me. And of course it's going to be different. You might miss a few things, but that's what the knockup is really supposed to help you with, is getting the golden crow out on there. I'm just going to give you another example. So you put the marker on him, so you just put it like that, dive bomb on him, he gets knocked up like that, and then you hit him with your one. Really good. And you know, as a hunter, you just kind of kill people, you know, it's just that easy. Another version of this, instead of using your auto attacks, of course, if this is a mage, you won't want to use your ultimate on them, like just a one person on a mage. unless you're like really close to them, but they're just in Phoenix range. You can target this pretty far away from you, so it's pretty nice. Let's just give an example of what I would do. So put that on so that you get the slow and the stun. So knock them up with my 3, use my stun, and then hit them with the ultimate, and they'll die. Going up against a Hui is extremely annoying. Not because of, oh my god, he like just one-shot me or anything. It's actually just because of the sound effects that it makes, really. I remember when the god first came out, I was kind of iffy on him. I don't know, like I liked him and all, like when I was playing him, but he definitely pissed me off, I'd say. Because I mean, just listen to the sounds. They're just asking for it to get like that. Getting that placed on you every like 2 seconds was so annoying. Also, like if you can hear the auto attacks when they hit on the raw, it actually kind of sounds like a slap. So yeah, kind of annoying, but you know, it's what Smite really is just, hey, my god is more annoying than yours. So yeah, just place it on him, dive bomb on him, and then use the 1, stunned out, and then he'll die. Super simple. You know, does not take a lot of skill to do that, as you can see. I've gotten many kills from that, but I've also died from that after missing my ricochet. Really easy to miss the ricochet, especially if you're trying to walk up behind them and not dive bomb on them to save your escape. As you can see, it's not the widest ability, right? But it is pretty long. It's as long as Neith's Spirit Arrow or Ullr's Bladed Arrow. So yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, this is Hui and what my build would be for him late game. You know, let's finish this off with some actives, get that greater sprint online and the beads, so that you could use that nice and easy. You know, 1.75 attack speed, not bad. You know, he's just like one of my favorite gods for hunters. He gets shut down in other game modes like Siege and whatnot, but in game modes like Conquest, he's definitely really fun to play with, so I would really suggest that you try playing Hui. But that's really it from me. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please drop a like, favorite, and subscribe.